Good evening and welcome to the Amateur TV Net, which is held every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And it's good to see we already have 15 people on Ian's YouTube feed. You can watch the net through VK3RTV using a set-top box, which are very cheap, and a small UHF Yagi vertically polarised, and we do appreciate the guys that go to the trouble to watch us that way. Or you can watch Ian VK3QL's YouTube feed or Discord via VK3VRS. Now the stations that did check in earlier on VHF and UHF were Bob VK3BVR, Mark VK3PI, Steve VK3TTF, although he's going to be up transmitting this evening, I believe, and Richard VK3VRS, Fred VK3ZAQ. So tonight it's going to be a bit of a swap around. We're going to run RTV2 first. First up will be Joe VK3TET. He should have a very interesting video for us, as he usually does, and then across to Mick VK3CH, and then Mick straight back to me. So take it away, Joe VK3TET. Hopefully it'll be a good cut over as I'm on DVB-T this evening. Take it away, Joe.
Okay, so the first thing that I do is to take the screw-on part of the PL259 and put it onto the coax flange first. Next thing I do is take the heat shrink and also place that onto the coax, slide them up the coax out of the way for later on. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to trim off some of the outer sheath here, and all I do is place up the PL259 next to it, okay, as a guide, and then all you're going to do is strip off this much coax from here to there. That's all you need to strip off the outer sheath, ready to fold back the braid. Okay, once you've bared back the sheath, or you've cut back the sheath, you can see there that I've trimmed back approximately that much. Okay, what you're going to do is flare it open, much like you would if you were doing a bazooka antenna. Flare it open, and you're going to push it from here across to here, and it's usually quite a simple method of just pushing it back like that, and a lot of people struggle with that when they make the bazooka, but there we go. So that's now ready. Now when it comes time to putting this piece on, what I like to do is leave a little gap between the end of here and the back flange in there. So all I'm going to do is offer it up again, leave a little bit of a space, put my finger on, okay, and then I'll take the knife and I'll just make a little score like that, okay, and then that will just break the plastic. Turn it over, little score on the back, nothing serious because you'll cut through it otherwise, and then it's free. Now you can pull that off usually with your fingers, but I'm just going to use these side cutters just to pop it off. So there we go. So we've bin that, you don't need that, we've bin that over there, wind up. There we go, okay, and now you're ready to put your PL 259 on. So slide that in through the hole, okay, and then you're just going to wind it on. And this is the method that I do all my connectors, be it RG58 or RG213 is a little bit more difficult. You're just going to screw it all the way up until it's tight and it won't go any further, and that's it there. Okay, now what some people like to do is have the braid come through there. You can see the inner dielectric there. What a lot of people like to do is have the braid come up through there, and they actually fill the holes with solder. There's one on that side and there's one on that side. Okay, I don't like to do that. I find it puts a huge amount of heat into the connector, and you can damage the dielectric, and I just don't like to do it. And you can see there's a little bit of the cables come through there. Don't worry about that, we'll sort that out later, but that's essentially the connector on. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to apply the solder to the center pin, and all I like to do is rest the tip of the soldering iron in the hole there, so it's touching the connector and the center portion of the coax, and then just feed in the solder, and it will just run. And I usually just keep feeding it until it overflows. Like that. Okay, what I do next is, once I've fettled slightly, because I'm usually overzealous with the solder, I usually fettle the end slightly with a small needle file just to smooth it out, make sure it's going to go into the connector. And I take a connector and I just double check it's going to go in nicely. Perfect. So the next job to do is to retest for shorts. Okay, so it's the same process. You're going to check that the center pin there is not having any continuity with the outer, which it's not with the braid, but it is with itself. Okay, so there's no continuity there at all, so that's good. Right, so the next job is to apply a small piece of tape to tidy up this braid and just protect the heat shrink from any possible sharp edges. So you only need a small piece. Keep it nice and tight. There, nice and tight, nice and tidy, and it just stops the heat shrink potentially getting damaged by the braid. Next, slide up the heat shrink that you placed on there earlier right up to the back of the connector, so it's pushed up against it, and then using a heat gun we're just going to seal the
Thank you so much for this informative guide, Jason. And for those of you that want to see the original video, the credits are in the credits, so please visit his channel. Anyway, I hope this is very informative. For those of you that are stuck, have no idea of how to fit a screw-on PL 259 plug onto an RG58 coax.
Okay, good evening everyone. Mick VK3CH in Doncaster, being patched through via Ian VK3QL. The RF isn't quite making it tonight. Okay then. Alright, now you guys, last week Peter was partly talking about the 70 centimetre ATV, the analogue, going in via that way. So I went digging. Mine's upstairs there, but to save me grabbing it and tripping over, I thought I would just show you some of the pictures I took of it. Here's the underneath of the circuit board, and this is the mini kits one. Now these were made in, it's 2002, but I built this one in May of 2005. Now some of these pictures are pretty low res. When we were making the linear amplifier, we were told that, I'll try and find a better picture. Where are we? Yeah, the PAs, the module, you had to file them flat because they had a little bit of a bow in them. So we got some very fine emery and actually stuck it to some glass, sort of duct tape so the glass was flat. And then very slowly we just filed it backwards and forwards on the emery, and as you can see there, it wound up being quite smooth at the end so that it would sit flat on the heatsink, because people had trouble when they applied the screws either end to screw them down. If they weren't completely flat, part of the substrate within the device would crack, and of course they'd be no good. Or more insidiously, it'd only crack a little bit and they'd still work, but they'd have like hardly any power output. Anyway, that's how it looked inside. So the bigger board is the sort of driver, sync puller board, and the smaller one is the audio IF, and I think we used, I think it was 5.5 megs. There were three different offerings. I think one was one frequency the States used, but we just used what was used in Melbourne. And that's a picture of how the thing looked in the front. So there wasn't much in it. And that's the audio sub carrier board. And that was the sort of the low level transmitter with the video in, and the audio sub carrier got fed into that. You can see the copyright symbol of Minikits in 2002, but yeah, I built that in May 2005. And in the literature that came with it, hang on, my microphone probably should be over here. In the literature that came with it, they had a little diagram of where all these the capacitors should sort of roughly be set up, like the, you know, the little copper swipe. What do you call it? Like, you know, the forget the proper name. Well, I'm really getting messy with words. Yeah. Anyway, the bits that the copper bits in it, and what I found was I wound all the coils. I did everything they told me to do. Oh, there's a sort of picture of the linear amplifier, but it's a bit out of focus. Sorry about that. And that's the coaxial connection. Now, that's another picture of the board. Now, what I've got to do is I'll get rid of that. And I'm looking for that. It'll come up in a minute. No, it won't. It'll come up on the wrong screen. So we'll just move it over to there. There's the actual kit instructions for it. So yeah, it was an EME 44. And what I'll just go down to, there's the circuit there. Not really a lot in the thing. Very surprising. But it worked first go. So there's the exciter circuit part of it, and the video processor and modulator part of it. But what I wanted to show you, if I can hold my mouse properly, that's it. If you see the black shadows on the circuit board there, that was roughly where it was suggested you have your trimming capacitors set. And so I did everything they told you, and the way the winder coils, everything. When I switched it on, I kid you not, I just used the TV as, you know, just to set it up, and a power meter into a dummy load when I first did it. And I'd say about 5 minutes, done. Worked first go. So I was very impressed with that. So yeah. So that's the story there. So if I click that, we're back again. So just that Peter Cousins was talking about that last week, so that had some memories just sort of sitting up on the bench up the top. I thought, well, instead of bringing it down and dropping it on myself, I thought I'd take some pictures of it during the week. Alright, what else have I got to tell you? There's another MAD session on this Sunday planned, so we intend to go and do that. We're just sort of watching the weather, so as long as it doesn't rain, we'll be good. Now, last time I went up there, I forgot the power lead for the video camera. I took the camera, but the lead was still stuck to the actual plug-in power supply itself. So we'll make sure we don't do that trick. Yes, I can see the camera. I've got the lead in it ready, so I don't forget it this time. But I used that last Thursday for the old timers luncheon they had at the Caulfield RSL, which is actually in Elstonwick, and they've moved downstairs. They've sort of been forced to, lack of staff or something for upstairs. So where I shoot the video, it's sort of not as good as upstairs, but if you go to YouTube and type in VK3CH, there'll be 2 new videos. One of the presentation that was made, and one a little bit of a talk about their new updated website. But both those links I think will end up on the ROATC website, where it says, you know, past luncheons. I think give them a couple of weeks before they put it in there. They're currently updating the website, so it looks quite different. If you haven't looked at the website for a while, just sort of modernised it up a little bit. So things will be in different spots, but you'll work it out. All right, I think that's about it. So I was told to talk for 10 minutes, but I've only got about that much. All right, I believe I'm handing it straight back to Neil. Well, Ian's handing it straight back to Neil. So hopefully a few people will be out for the MAD day on Sunday. And of course you'll have an extra hour to sleep in because daylight saving ends. So she'll be ready for that. So I'll go to Kinglake, my usual spot, with audio and video on the usual frequencies that we use. All right. Catch us next week, hopefully.
Right, didn't expect that so quick. Right, thanks for that, Mick. It was great, and I didn't know there was a MAD day this Sunday. Yeah, the old analogue stuff, it was fairly simple, but gee, it was a lot of fun. Those old AM days on 426 250 and 444 250. And I believe Peter Cousins has been revamping his old analogue unit, so we're going back to analogue, which is great stuff. Okay, now next will be Steve, VK3TLF, so hopefully we'll see his picture come up on RTV1 very shortly, so get ready there, Steve. I'm looking for a signal on RTV1 as we speak, and when that happens, please all switch across to RTV1. We've got, well, 21 people watching on YouTube, and we're still waiting for Steve to come up, and I haven't seen him yet, so please bring your signal up there, Steve. So everyone now switch across to RTV1. Hopefully we'll see Steve VK3TLF very, very shortly. So take it away, Steve.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, just put my microphone aside. There it is. Rightio, it's VK3TLF. Welcome to another broadcast. Tonight I thought I'd talk about... yeah, can you hear me okay there, Neil? I can see you on the screen. Yep, great. All right, we're all in order. Great to see. Now tonight I thought I'd just talk about a little bit of work I've been doing with the Sharis. So you can thank Rob for introducing me to these. This is more on the All-Star front. So yep, that dirty word. So I've been playing around with the Sharis, and I'll move on to the first image of what I'm talking about, so you can get involved. Now this is the Shari. So this is a little node you can buy on AliExpress. It's a little box, and what it actually is a little box that has 2 USB connectors on it, and you plug it into a Raspberry Pi, and then you use the All-Star software on the Raspberry Pi to then allow you to then connect up to the All-Star nodes in the on the All-Star website. So you can pick a node, you can go and look at the nodes that are live and so forth, and then what it then does is it then goes from RF. So if I go back to the previous image, you'll notice there's a antenna socket on the unit. So the standard ones that AliExpress tends to sell with these units are UHF only. Now they use a little nice RF module in them that does all the conversion from VoIP to RF, and then you can just use a little handheld to then talk to the radio, and I'll get onto some other things you can do with these later. And so if I go to the actual ad where I bought mine from, this is what they actually look like on AliExpress. They're quite cheap. They're a great little unit. They transmit 1 watt on UHF. When I did a recent business trip to Western Australia, I was staying in a hotel on the 22nd floor. So I put a external antenna on this in the window, and then I could speak all over Perth for about a 1 kilometre radius of the hotel with a handheld. So, and I linked it up with the guys in Melbourne, and we're having a nice old conversation while I was walking around the city in Perth, just testing out its range, and it was working surprisingly well. So I was down the pier down at Perth, and talking back to Melbourne via this little unit. It was without a linear, just with the unit itself. So it was quite amazing on UHF. So moving on from that, I thought, well, that's all very well that I can do UHF, but I'd also like to get a VHF one. And searched around, and the guys don't really make them. Otherwise, you got the option of using the kit version and so forth. It's like, I don't really want to do that, to be honest. So I then, and I will just show you what you do. So first of all, you pull these 2 screws out at the front. I've already marked this one the modified module, so I've written on the front edge of it. And what you're looking for, well, I'll show you the original module. So this is the original UHF module. So these SA818s. So this is the SCE. So this is the UHF version. And then if you go onto AliExpress once again, once the picture comes up, you can then find this. Now this, there's a little bit of cost there, but this is for 4 of these modules. So I figured, well, I might modify a few of these, so it didn't really bother me. You can buy a single module yourself as well, instead of you don't want to buy 4, I think. But at worst, it's one way to get the VHF modules, and so it didn't really bother me. Otherwise, if someone wants to buy an extra module off me, if they want to pay the full price, and reach out, and I've got a few that I don't think I'll use all of them, so I've got 3 of them left. I didn't manage to destroy the one I put on, so that's all good. So I managed to, with the help of a screwdriver under the board and a heat gun, one of the desoldering ones, with a little tube on it and so forth, I put the thing up to high temperature and managed to lever the unit off the board. And that's why you can see the old unit, if I go back, is a little bit bent and mangled, because first of all you take the steel, you desolder the steel cover off, and then you can then the board is a bit more flexible, so you can actually start to work a screwdriver under the edge, and then start with a heat gun to start working the thing off. because it's got those the little half circle things you can see on the side of the board. They're where it's soldered onto the main board. So you want to try and avoid taking the tracks off the actual Shari circuit board. I only managed to remove one, which I managed to patch up pretty easily, so that wasn't too bad. But yeah, just be careful and take your time with the heat gun. I just worked it around down one side and got that loose, and then went to the other side and just worked it around carefully and managed to get it off. So, and cleaned up the pads. And then I did find another little nice RF module. This one, this is the VHF one, but it actually says 2 watts. Now I don't guarantee this is going to work. I don't know, because it's the code on it's slightly different, but it does look pretty identical. So this one may work as well. I found these ones on the AliExpress site. So the net result after this was, this is the Shari board with the VHF module all attached. So the RF track that comes out the top doesn't seem to have any filtering or anything like that on it. I don't think there's really any strip line with it. It's only a tiny little piece of copper that goes to the SMA connector. So, and I did test it, and it seems to work really well. So it didn't seem to make any difference. But now it operates on VHF, not UHF. So, which is kind of handy. So after that, I put it all back together and wrote VHF on it, so I knew which one was which, because I have got a couple of these units. What I then did was thought, oh, we'll try this out, because one of the purposes was that I wanted to try and have a go on VHF with potentially setting up all-star nodes on VHF. So 1 watt isn't going to get me very far, so I then hooked it up to my 100 watt linear amplifier, and yeah, that I got from Hamfest recently. This one's a nice little unit, and it was doing around about 30 to 40 watts after the linear. The linear is obviously not designed for 1 watt input, but it was still putting out 30 to 40 watts after the node. And yeah, from that I was going all the way from Emerald across to St Albans when we tested it out with Rob, and he could hear it really well. So it was working really well. It was kind of funny though, because I hooked this Shari All-Star node, I hooked it up to Rob's All-Star node. So then Rob's having a big echo fest, and I don't know whether some of you may have heard it on the ATV frequency early in the week, but yeah, there's one way to create an echo microphone, is create a loop like that. So yeah, that's just one of the things I've been playing with. Yeah, because I've been wanting to work out how to actually make a VHF one of these for a while, so hopefully that helps some people, and yeah, introduce some people into the world of Shari. Leading on from this, I did actually set this up in the car with Raspberry Pi, and then I used a MikroTik Wi-Fi router. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the MikroTiks. Very, very flexible little devices for networking and Wi-Fi. And I set up as a dual band unit, and I set up one of the interfaces as a station mode, and to act as a client off my mobile phone hotspot. So then I can drive around with the Shari in the car hooked up to a site, and then just be talking on my handheld with a headset. And and I've had many conversations for people all over California and all over the world, just driving around, when I'm bored driving to work, just talk on my Shari, and I can have a nice conversation with people in the States or wherever you want to connect your All-Star with before you drive off, and just leave it connected on the hotspot in the mobile. So that's just some of the things I've been doing with the Sharis, and having some fun. So hopefully that helps some others to with their journey into that space. Anyway, I'll pass it back over to the next person, or back to Neil actually, to take net control, and he can then pass it over to the next person in the queue. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great evening. VK3TLF signing off.
Right, thanks guys. Yeah, I've got the UHF version of that, and I got it all going, and I packed it away, so maybe I'll drag it out at some point. Don't know that I'll convert mine to VHF though. Now unfortunately Peter Cousins, he did contact me earlier in the day, said he would be running late, and must be running very late because he hasn't turned up yet. So unfortunately, while Peter did have a segment for us, he's not home yet. So in the absence of anybody else, thank you for watching. It's been great, some good videos this evening, and we'll see you next week. And don't forget, next week it's daylight savings, so change your clock so you don't miss out on the net Tuesday night. So we'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Cheers.